Some people don't break loudly. They don't scream. They don't fall apart where anyone can see it. They just go quiet. And if you're listening closely, that silence tells you everything. People who've been through too much don't look damaged on the surface. They look controlled, calm, almost unshakable. But that calm isn't peace. It's pressure held so tightly that it stopped moving. At some point, life didn't just hurt them once. It hurt them again and again and again, until their nervous system learned one brutal lesson: feel less, survive more. So they stopped reacting the way others do. They stopped expecting help. They stopped believing that pain ends just because time passes. This is the quiet breaking point, the moment when a person realizes that no one is coming to save them. Not really. After that, something changes. They don't fall apart, they adapt. And that adaptation becomes invisible to everyone, except the people who've lived it too. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, don't rush away from it, because what happens next is the part almost nobody talks about. After the breaking point, survival stops being something they do. It becomes who they are. People who've gone through too much don't wake up asking, "What do I want today?" They wake up scanning for problems, reading moods, calculating outcomes before anything even happens. Their personality slowly reshapes itself around staying safe. They become responsible too early, emotionally mature before they ever had a chance to be careless. They learn how to stay useful, needed, reliable, because usefulness once meant protection. This is why they often seem strong in situations that would crush others. Chaos feels familiar. Uncertainty feels normal. Crisis feels like home. But peace feels strange. When nothing is wrong, their body doesn't relax. It waits. Because when life has taken too much from you, your mind stops believing in calm moments. It treats them like traps, temporary pauses before the next hit. So they stay alert, they stay prepared, they stay in control. And slowly, without realizing it, survival stops being a response to trauma. It becomes their identity. And that's where the real cost begins. When survival becomes your identity, feelings stop being something you experience. They become something you manage. People who've been through too much don't lose emotions, they bury them. Not because they're cold, but because feeling deeply once came with consequences they couldn't afford. So they learn to shut parts of themselves down, quietly, efficiently, without drama. They still smile, they still function, they still show up. But inside, everything is turned down low. This emotional numbness often gets mistaken for strength. Others admire how unbothered they seem, how nothing appears to shake them. What no one sees is that numbness isn't the absence of pain, it's the absence of relief. They don't fully feel sadness, but they don't fully feel joy either. Moments that should feel warm feel distant. Achievements feel hollow. Compliments slide right through them. Because once you teach your nervous system to survive unbearable pain, it doesn't know how to selectively turn feelings back on. It's all or nothing. And they chose nothing, not because they wanted to, but because it was the only way they knew how to keep going. This is where people start misunderstanding them, and this misunderstanding leads directly to the twist almost everyone misses. Here's the twist no one expects. People who've gone through too much don't feel unseen because others ignore them. They feel unseen because they stopped showing the parts that needed to be seen. At some point, being honest about pain didn't bring comfort. It brought disappointment, judgment, or silence. So they learned something dangerous. visibility equals vulnerability, and vulnerability once cost them too much. They became experts at presenting a version of themselves that's acceptable, capable, low maintenance, easy to be around. But that version isn't the full truth. The deeper layers, the exhaustion, the grief, the anger that never got processed, stay hidden even from people who genuinely care. And when someone says, "You seem fine," they don't correct them, because correcting them would require opening a door they sealed years ago. This is why connection feels strange to them. They crave being understood, but panic when someone gets too close. Not because they don't want intimacy, but because intimacy means being seen without armor. And they don't trust that the world knows how to handle what's underneath. So they stay partially invisible, present but not fully known. And that invisibility slowly turns into loneliness, even in rooms full of people. What comes next explains why they'd rather carry everything alone than risk needing anyone. Needing someone feels dangerous to them, not emotionally uncomfortable, physically unsafe. People who've gone through too much learned early that reliance leads to disappointment. Promises break, support disappears, help comes with conditions. So they adapt in a very specific way. They become hyper-independent. They handle everything themselves. They don't ask, they don't wait, they don't lean. On the outside, it looks admirable, strong, self-sufficient, unshakable. But underneath, it's fear disguised as control. Because needing someone once meant being powerless, and powerlessness is something their body refuses to feel again. So even when they're exhausted, they say they're fine. Even when they're drowning, they insist they've got it handled. Even when someone offers support, they feel irritated instead of relieved. Not because they don't appreciate it, but because accepting help activates an old memory. What happens when support disappears? They'd rather collapse alone than risk being dropped again. This is why love feels complicated to them, why closeness triggers distance, why dependency feels like a threat instead of comfort. They don't fear people, they fear what happens when they need them. And that fear quietly shapes every relationship they touch. What happens next is even harder to explain because it's about something most people chase, but they secretly avoid. Happiness doesn't feel safe to them. Not because they don't want it, but because happiness once came right before everything fell apart. People who've gone through too much associate joy with danger. Their nervous system learned a pattern. When things feel good, something bad is coming. So even in peaceful moments, their body stays tense. They can laugh, but part of them is watching the door. They can relax, but only halfway. Real happiness requires surrender, and surrender feels like exposure. So they sabotage calm without realizing it. They overthink, they stay busy, they create problems where there were none. Because chaos is predictable, calm is not. When life slows down, old memories get louder. Unprocessed grief surfaces, emotions they've avoided start knocking, and instead of facing them, they return to what they know best: endurance. This is why people tell them, just enjoy it. And they nod but can't, because enjoyment means trusting that the moment won't punish them for relaxing. And trust is something life took from them slowly, repeatedly, without asking. What's left is a person who survives everything, but struggles to live inside the good moments. And the final truth behind this explains why their strength is also their heaviest burden. Here's the truth they almost never say out loud. People who've gone through too much don't think they're strong. They think they're tired. Tired of carrying memories no one asks about. tired of being praised for resilience when what they needed was relief, tired of surviving things they never should have had to survive. Their strength wasn't built by choice, it was built by necessity. And the hardest part isn't what happened to them, it's what it taught them about the world. That safety is temporary, that attachment is risky, that needing others comes with a price. So they become someone who can endure almost anything, but doesn't know how to rest without guilt. They don't need fixing, they don't need saving, they need something much rarer. Permission to soften, permission to feel without bracing for impact, permission to believe that their story doesn't have to keep repeating just because it once did. And if you recognized yourself in this, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you adapted to a world that asked too much of you. The haunting part is this. Survival kept them alive, but learning how to feel safe again, that's the part they're still learning. And once you see that, you never look at strong people the same way again. If you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Thank you.